Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Tabletopped, the only podcast about tables this side of the internet. Here with me today is our host of TabletopPod.com, Nicholas Perrone.
Hi, Rio.
Hey, buddy. So this is our third year of this podcast.
Yeah, we've been doing it for 3 years.
Oh, man.
Whoa, fuck shit.
Please turn off your communication devices.
Thank you.
So that the sound will not bleed into the
Still an idiot after all these years.
Well, you know, we love a running gag. So, 3 years. What made you want to become a podcaster?
An insatiable need for attention.
Ooh, we love the word insatiable. Why did you choose that word?
Because it's a good. I don't know. I guess do I have to go back to therapy?
This is what this is.
But no,
friendship therapy.
God, aren't all podcasts?
Well, yeah, that's why they're so popular.
Well, I was thinking about like why it started the other day, and it was because I think it was like you and I were driving to one of the ICO cabin weekends, or
our annual getaway.
Yeah, our getaway, and we were just and Franco was in like the back seat, and we were just like shooting the shit and like talking shop. And I remember being like, I just want to talk about like this shit all the time. And then I was like, why don't we do that?
That's right. And you started recording it and releasing it, so now it's a thing.
Yeah.
And as we all know, anything you can market as productive is something worth doing.
Yeah, it makes me feel like I'm a real boy.
You're a real boy. You're also an improviser.
I am.
On the stage with Tickled something. Is your name?
Please and Spank You, but yes, Tickled actually would be a fantastic improv team.
So the last thing I saw you in live, I won a jar of pickles. So now I just think,
yeah, you did. Have you eaten them?
No, I gave them to Franco.
Oh yeah, and you're gonna get the jar back.
I'm gonna keep the jar.
Nice.
I'm gonna put dice in them because that's just what we do here at Nerddom.
Yeah. But you're not a pickle fan, right?
I like a very particular type of pickle.
Ooh, let's get into this.
And I like bread and butter.
Oh, pickles. You like sweet?
I like the sweet pickles, and I think those were
probably dill or something.
Dill pickles, which happen to be Franco's favorite.
You don't like spice either, right?
I don't like a lot of spice
because I feel like the trend nowadays is to
I'm a little vanilla boy.
I feel like the trend nowadays is just to dump a bunch of really hot peppers into like a pickle brine.
Yeah.
And you're just like,
everywhere you go out to eat, they're like, oh, look how hot we can make this. I came here for nutrition, not torture.
I agree.
Give me like a burger and fries, bro. Give me some pasta. Don't put I don't want jalapeno ghost pepper nonsense.
I have a question for you. You're from the South.
I am from the South, famously.
So last night I was getting a burger.
Yep.
Right? It was after a show of Please and Spank You, and I was like, yeah, I'll have this like smokehouse burger, blah, 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 blah. It came on 2 pieces of white toast that had been like toasted with butter. Is that something that you experience in the South? Like, where did that come from, do you think? Is that like a regional cuisine?
I've never had a burger presented to me in that way before.
Yeah, I was like,
whatever restaurant. What restaurant do you go to?
It was a pub, so maybe it was just like pub food.
It might have just been a pub burger.
Because I was like, we have a
white
thing
bread is cheaper than buns.
Yeah, but I was like, there's a thing called a burger bun. It's in the name, burger.
Yeah, but you're talking about that burger now, aren't you?
You're so right. Maybe they're doing it just to get the word out.
I think pubs will do things just to be like, hey, this is our version of this food. So talking about RPing and improvisation, what is your style? What makes your style of improv gaming unique to you?
I think that I am pretty good at just like sitting with somebody in a scene and just talking through it as a character. And a lot of times I don't plan for any of that to happen. So I just like sit down and I'm like, I don't know what's about to happen. And it's usually fairly rewarding. Like we like have a pretty good chat as characters. And I feel like
you see yourself as a good scene partner.
Yes, exactly. That's actually a really good way to put it. Yeah. Where I really fall down is I think as a writer/director, because a lot of the times we'll have a scene and a lot of really interesting things will come out of it. And then I'll be like, what the fuck did we just say? And I don't retain it in my brain so that I can bring it into future sessions as well as I would like to.
Okay.
And I am also really bad at like sketching down notes and then understanding what they mean later. You know what I mean?
Or else you got like a doctor's mentality. It was like
Yeah. And we all know the healthcare system works great.
Yeah, nothing's ever gone wrong there.
Yeah.
What kind of scenes do you enjoy? Comedy, tragedy, or intimate action?
So it's a really good question.
I'm really good at this.
You are really good at this. Like 2 days ago, actually it was yesterday, I was doing a session with a completely new group. Some people asked me to run this thing for them. And I was in a conversation and they had just robbed this place. And this
classic.
And this one character had been expressly told by her dad, don't go do that.
Don't go robbing places.
Yeah, exactly. Well, they were a thieves' family, so it was not completely unexpected. But she came back and she was like, Dad, they're trying to set us up. I did that thing, and look, when we were doing the thing, all these bags have our symbol on them. We didn't put them there. Someone's trying to frame us. And I was like, they're not trying to frame us anymore. Because you were fucking there. You did the job. And so I thought, like, I think that my good point is that I can kind of catch those moments, and I think that those are fun.
Well, there you go. And you prefer, I guess you said you weren't a good like director, writer. Mm-hmm. Would you prefer playing to running games? Or
Rio, this is huge, actually. I want to do several sessions just on this, like talks, because, and maybe you feel this way, and maybe it's common. I feel so uncomfortable playing as a character.
Really?
I am like, man, it's just a thing where I can't just sink into it, into the character, and so I'm like so conscious of. Like I'm trying to direct myself as the character rather than just doing the things that I want to do as the character.
Affect you in your acting?
Yeah, it's really bad. Like when I was in acting school, they would always be like, "Oh, you gotta get out of your head. Like you have a director on your shoulder." Blah 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 blah, which is true and is great advice if I knew how to do that.
Yeah. When do you think you're gonna start listening to that advice?
I don't know how. Do you have any suggestions? Because I feel like you are.
I do it naturally.
Yeah, you're so good.
I don't have the problem of having a like.
filter.
I'm not a full person. I don't have a personality, so I can just create one whenever I need to.
But this is the interesting thing that I've noticed is like between you as a GM and you as a player, I feel like as a GM, you're not someone who does like a bunch of voices. You don't do like that sort of differentiating between them. But as a character, you do. And you like really make it like a very complex, and not to say that one's better than the other, I don't think that, but like you as a character, I've always admired. Like when you were a Brova and when you were Valen, I was like, man, we are all talking about these fucking characters in between sessions. And I don't know, like I don't know how to just let myself into that. So I guess to answer your original question, I think GMing is better because it's just me responding to someone rather than having to have a point of view.
It gives you more chance to be a scene partner without having to do the dedicated character development.
Right. The spotlight is always on them. And so I'm just there to support what they're trying to do. And I feel really solid in that. When I have the spotlight on me, I get very uncomfortable. I don't really understand that.
And your insatiable need for attention, though. How do those two things coexist? How do you marry those ideas?
Right? Yeah, it's not good. I think that is why I'm mentally ill. But yeah, I don't know. Like, here's a great example. The other day, I was playing a game with, I think, Mac, and my character was going through a pretty major emotional transformation where he thought that he had lived his entire life with things going wrong around him, and he felt like a curse. Mm-hmm. And his parents had died when he was young because they crashed into this big wolf thing. And so now his power was that when he like channeled that memory, turned into a giant wolf and would like rampage and destroy. Oh. And so he always felt like I'm a monster, right? And then throughout this arc of the story, it got to the point where the memory had been altered, in that this other person who had been there was like, that never happened. Like, you were in the car, yeah, but they were trying to leave you at the side of the road, and this wolf thing is what's called like the Praetorian, a guardian spirit of the woods, basically like chased them off before they really hurt him. and he just remembered the wolf, and then his parents being gone connected them into this death montage.
Oh, you recreated the memory.
And so his entire thing was different, and I throughout this whole thing, because it's like a huge catharsis moment for this character, and I was like sweating, and I was like, oh my God, I don't know what to do. I was like so like nervous. I was like, oh, am I doing this right? Am I giving the right amount back to this in the scene? Like, is this what this person would say? I don't know.
Oh, man.
As a GM, I would not have that happen. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's really interesting. Because like if I'm in like in a character moment, I'm never thinking about, oh, is this enough? What would this? I always just think about like, oh, I'm going to do this because this is what this character would do in this moment, and I don't really care what anyone else thinks.
Yeah, no, and I said,
care too much. You're a big caring boy.
Maybe that is the case. And honestly, one thing, going back to acting notes, I've always gotten, is that everyone has said, Nick, you're playing it really earnest. I love how earnest you are, but can you try doing it this way? What I think that actually means, and it took me like 10 years to figure this out, is what they're saying is you're trying too hard. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And I think that that's the same in these games. Like, I think that when I'm playing a character, I try so hard to do it right. And I think that what you just said is so important because I'm making this fucking character up. Yeah. Anything that I say is what this character is going to do. So there is no right. Right. So I don't know why that is, why I still get nervous. But ever since you brought me in, like you are my first campaign DM, like you tolerated Bill. Bill was, I think...
I enjoyed Bill.
Yeah, Bill was great. And Bill was the first, and I think last time, I felt like I'm in this character.
Yeah.
And I don't know what you did to get that off, like to make me do that. But now I'm so in my head about it. I think that like.
Well, I think that's with Bill. You just weren't in your head about it. You're like, oh, I don't know what's going on. I'm going to do whatever I feel. I'm going to do whatever I feel like is right in the moment.
Right.
And every time now you're playing like, well, I don't want to do what Bill would do. I don't want to be a different character. I want to be. I think you're trying too hard to not be Bill, or too hard to be something that is different or correct for the scene, and not spending too much time focusing on who is this, what do I want this character to be. You're like, what does this character need to be? What does everyone else think this character wants? What does anyone else want from this character? So you've always got to get out of your own way. Yeah, if that's helpful. And just like,
I think
focus on what you're doing.
What that means is I have to play a Rio campaign again. It's been a while.
Yeah, you gotta get back in a Rio game.
Yeah, I gotta get into a Rio game, and I need to, like you said, I just need to loosen up, and I just need to do it.
Yeah. Figure out what your character wants. Figure out what your character is like. Like those word mapping things that I really love. 3 words to describe this character.
Yeah.
And then that's how I make my decisions.
Yeah.
What's my goal? How does this goal get filtered through stubborn, vengeful, and grumpy?
Yeah. I feel, remember when Franco was running that like test of his system, and it was you and I, and we were just those old men.
Old men just roaming the countryside?
I feel like that was another time where I felt really good, because I felt like our relationship was so strong that we could just fucking talk and it was right.
Yeah. So those characters didn't exist so far as what we made them exist as.
Yeah, right.
And we weren't trying to. And I don't think because also with me, you weren't like, oh, I need to make this character right, because it was like I just will make this character and we were scene partners. Yeah. And that worked out. Yeah. And you gotta. Maybe that's what you're doing. Maybe you're seeing yourself as a director too much and not as
I think you're right.
A scene buddy.
I think you're right. I also think that maybe. Do you have this problem as someone who GMs all the time? And also plays a lot. Do you have a problem where you're like in a character and all you're thinking about is how the GMing is going?
Say more?
So, like, okay, let's say, what's a game we're playing recently? Fuck.
I've never played fuck with you.
Not with me. Okay, so, like, imagine we're playing, like, the Candle Cove game.
Okay.
And you are your character.
Yep.
And you didn't do this, so I guess I already have answered my question, but were you ever like, as a GM, you were thinking about how I was GMing and how the story was unfolding and how it's working out and like what you were thinking? Do you ever have those thoughts when you're playing as a character?
Oh, no.
Oh, man,
if I'm
so
playing,
jealous.
it's because I'm taking a break away from that.
Yeah.
I'm not going to, I think you got to tell your intrusive thoughts to go away, bro.
Yeah.
You're like, this is not what we're thinking about right now.
So you've been doing this for a long time. So like, did you ever go through that period?
For 100 years.
100 years.
I don't think so. Because I've always just played very loosey-goosey with people who are like as scattered-brained or like, I don't know, not as... I don't really have a thought of where I'm going. This is terrible. But yeah, ever since I've started playing, it's always just been, oh, this is what we're doing, and it's fine. I'm going to do this, you're going to do that. It's gonna work or it's not going to work. One of us will... I guess you're playing like chicken.
Yeah.
You do what you do, and if it doesn't work, it's just like real life.
You adjust.
You adjust. You adjust your behaviors and personalities until eventually the group coalesces or breaks apart.
Yeah.
And I think you're focusing on how do I keep the group together.
Yeah.
And not how am I treated this character.
Damn, I think you're a therapist, dude.
I've had a lot of it.
Yeah. Well, it's just like because I think in games where I have felt really negatively about my character, I was like, oh, fuck, I just didn't fulfill my role in the story, or I didn't do this, like right. I wasn't true to this character. But it's also like you said, I get to decide what that is.
Right. Yeah.
For example, Mallory, I still feel bad about how that ended up. Because
and with Mallory, I think you were really trying to play for a story beat and not play as Mallory, this gnome that was just doing whatever weird shit. You're like, oh, I'm playing Mallory. I have to do this for the story.
Yeah, and then at the end, it was like the ending I regret hugely because we were down in this weird cave system with worms everywhere, and my character was like a Lovecraftian hero looking for this like worm god as his like patron, essentially. That he didn't know that at the time.
All hell the worm god.
Yeah, he just wanted universal truth.
Yeah.
And then at the end, we got to the point where this worm god thing was like, yeah, I'm what you're looking for, and like
Classic
take my hand,
gods.
Let's go. And I was like, oh, but then my whole group is going to hate me because I'm just going to take this character and leave them to die on this island. I should have just fucking done it. I should have just been like, high five, worm god, let's go. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Sometimes what the character we do is what the character we do.
I gotta take the shackles off.
Yeah. Stop trying to write a story and just play the game.
Because I feel this way with Marks all the time. I think it's one of the reasons why I've been so hesitant to get back into Waterdeep, our campaign with Shade, is that I'm like, I feel a lot of pressure to play Marks right. And I don't know how to do that anymore.
You can't play him right.
Yeah.
There's no... Like what Franco's always saying, people act out of character all the time.
Yeah.
It's because there's no, like, Mark isn't going to react a certain way. Mark's is just, he's a good boy. He likes his law. And, you know, you have your guiding principles, but there's no right or wrong.
Yeah.
It's just what's happening, how am I reacting, am I reacting to that reaction later on. And that's story. That's character.
Man, that's beautiful.
Yeah. God,
that story, that's character, that's beautiful.
That's the mantra for 2025.
Yeah,
character, story, beauty. All of these things could be yours if you just relax the fuck out. You know.
Well, what about you? How have you felt about like games and Tabletopped in the last year? Because you've been going on your own journey.
I'm on a hiatus.
Yeah.
Because I got very frustrated with things not working out. And that was just like. I guess I got burnt out as a GM because I'd be like, oh, I'm presenting this story, I'm writing it this way, and then it wasn't coming across. People weren't getting the things I was dropping. I felt like, oh, I want them to see this character this way, and now I'm going to reveal this information. But that information, I didn't feel like I revealed it right, or I didn't feel like anyone cared that there was new information.
Yeah.
And it gets really hard when you're like, oh, I have all of these characters that I care about, and no one else seems to.
Yeah.
I dropped the ball and bailed, and now I'm about to start today, as of this recording, the first campaign of 2025, which is my first actual game that I'm running since 6 months ago.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Been a long, long while.
And you haven't played since then either.
No, I've been out of the dice world. I've been not rolling dice.
Are you going to come back as a player, or are you going to just step back in as a DM first?
I'm going to run this game, and I'm not making any other decisions.
I love that.
I've decided to run this one, and I've got another one shot because I found a book in a comic book store.
What's the book?
The book was The Dark Souls. It's a 5e module.
Right.
But I was like, you know what? This would be great with Morkborg. So I've got my Mork. So after I run this Fallout one-shot, I'm going to start working on Morkborg one-shot.
Do you need the book? I have
the books.
Okay, you have the books.
I got that. I got the pirate book.
Nice.
I can do whatever
I also have the dungeon screen for Morkborg. Fucking
I don't have that.
I can pass it off to you. It's like
make some photocopies.
Yeah. On the inside of the dungeon screen is just like 1,000 tables of cool stuff.
Yeah.
It's just like no rules or whatever. It's just like, like weird shit that could happen, like spell effects, like all these things that you can just roll whenever.
All right, here's another question since it's your interview. What do you think of paraphernalia, DM screens, particularly? Because one of the things that I've always liked, new character, new dice. Mm-hmm. What do you have that sort of like
minis
compulsion?
Yeah, minis for me. Like especially just ever since I've gotten super into like miniature painting. I love having a nice miniature.
What kind of miniatures are you into?
I'm not gonna do it, man. I'm not gonna do it. It's not. I should have seen this coming. But to answer your question, Etsy is great for D&D miniatures. Like $5, and you can get an incredibly high detailed, beautiful miniature that will paint up super great.
Is that people 3D printing on Etsy pretty heavily?
Yeah,
making those STLs or whatever they're called.
Yeah. You can either buy the STLs if you have a 3D printer, or you can just buy them. And I don't have the tolerance or the patience to have a 3D printer.
Yeah,
so
I know where to put a 3D printer.
Yeah, so I buy the miniatures, and they always come. They're super detailed, and I hate the WizKids ones.
Because they're mass produced.
Yeah, they're mass produced, and
there's
also
no artistry.
Yes, exactly, and also they paint terribly.
They really do.
Yeah, every time I try to put paint on, it's like sliding off. It looks like garbled. It's just like a 3-year-old painted. I do prime. Yeah. And it still fucking doesn't do anything.
I've had that same problem. Like, you got to prime them. Well, the prime doesn't. Nothing. I don't have the patience for painting and something that small.
Yeah.
I'm definitely out of it. That's why I like dice. Dice is what I use to represent a character. I'll do a dice. I'll do a sketch because I have a Procreate.
And you've gotten really good at the digital creation of that stuff.
It's been coming together.
Yeah.
I like doing my little artworks, and I like my one-pager background because I know people are like, don't do a lot of background stuff. Don't make the character all backstory. Like the backstory is how I decide a lot of what they're going to do. Because Brova was the future king of the Minotaurs.
Yeah,
his whole thing was how I'm on a year hiatus to learn skills to take back to be the king of the Minotaurs. And if I didn't write that backstory. What was he even doing adventuring?
I think that maybe that's also something that I have had a trouble with is that I haven't, because of our talks around don't write super detailed backstories of all these adventures they've had, I've sort of backed off of backstories in general. I just have like a 2-sentence, 3-sentence sort of thing. But I think I need to write something out that's a little bit more in depth so I can kind of get a perspective.
I think there's a middle ground between writing out a full-on, my character's already had all of these adventures, and my character has this one. I think an inciting incident is important to discern what made this character go on this adventure.
You know what? That makes a lot of sense because a lot of your characters have that inciting incident, and it does drive a lot of their decisions. Yep. And it's like a really firm starting place for their arcs. Like Brova was basically like, you have to go out and become worthy of being a king of the Minotaurs kind of thing. And so that's why he was out doing stuff. And that was sort of his whole purpose was like, I have to learn how to be a good king. And so that formed your decision.
I need life experience.
Yeah, right. And then Valen, it was like, you were taken to hell.
I was an infant sacrifice for my family's farm and was just like raised in hell, and then like I was used for a nefarious purpose and then abandoned back on Earth, and I was like, all right, how does this guy react to a city guard?
Yeah, exactly.
Poorly.
And I think that makes a lot of sense. I think that honestly, next time, I mean, we're about to, like I said, I'm playing in this, or like you said, you're starting this game. I'm playing in it.
Yeah.
I think that's what I'm going to do. I think I'm going to make an inciting incident-based backstory that is just sort of like, why is this character adventuring?
That's going to be tricky for this one.
Oh, really? Tell me more.
Well, because this is a Fallout game.
Oh, yeah.
So you're going to be, you're in a vault.
Yeah. I guess kind of it's built in that the inciting incident is leaving the vault, right?
Yeah, that's the inciting incident for a lot of these characters. Like, so
like,
I already
why?
have the story. Like, what's going to cause these players to leave the vault?
Mm-hmm.
And I think after we get used to the rules of the game, we can go back, because then you can play the Wastelanders, Scavengers, and all of that. But for the game I made now, it's like, you're all in the vault.
Yeah.
We're going to open the vault and we're going to go.
Yeah, so I guess it would be more. I guess I'm gonna.
But there's always could be like, why did your character volunteer to be one of the people who left the vault?
Exactly.
What happened inside of the vault?
To make
and then you have more of
leave.
like a. See, I was trying to take away your stuff. Now we're talking about it. Now you have it back. Yeah, have your inciting. There's always room for an inciting incident.
Yeah, because it could just be like Roger gets bullied all the time, so he's like, I'm gonna just fucking go in the wasteland. It can't be worse than here.
I'd rather die than see Roderick again.
Yeah, and so then it's like trying to prove yourself in the wasteland, and then that's a point of view or whatever.
Right. God.
Okay, I'll try it.
That's good. Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
I don't know. Currently, I would really love.
No, in 5 years.
In 5 years, my current view of where I would want to be in 5 years is I think I want to be in Vermont. I think it'll be fun.
Be running games in Vermont, or
yeah. So I think I'm still going to be playing. The thing is that I'm really worried about Rio, is that I had such a negative experience
in Vermont
over the Christmas break, playing games with people who aren't my friends that I know here.
Oh, yeah.
That I'm like, is it bad everywhere else? Am I just completely blinded by of what the world is?
I cannot tell you how many bad groups I had to go through before I made this one that I like.
Yeah.
And even now, it could use some pruning.
Enough said.
Enough said. But that's just because it started small and it's kind of grown.
Yeah.
And now it's like, oh, there's so many people, there's so many schedules, there's so many like this, that, and the other thing. So it's just like, you could a good group lasts for maybe like 2 years, and then shit just happens.
I have to say, my high points of D&D was in the first
Cannabis.
2 years when you were doing the man, I think about consistently when someone's like, what's like a good moment in D&D, when we were facing Goldrag and we made the flower explosion.
The flower bomb? Yeah. A lot of good stuff happened. Early Canaries.
That was so good, man. I'm so glad you were my first GM.
Aw. I'm glad you were on my body count roster.
You're like, I'm glad that you were like the 50th person I had in the game.
Yeah. Oh, God. That was like the peak Bill getting blown out of a tower completely naked.
Yeah.
And then just having to go back into town as nothing ever happened.
Yeah.
That's one of the better Bill memories.
Yeah, and I remember when we were infiltrating, the sort of Assassin's Creed moment that you very generously allowed to happen, because one of our players, Jackie, had just made a new character, Chance.
Yeah.
And Chance was part of the Brigands, and Bill slid out from under a wagon and sliced one of their throats, and then was like, shh, looking directly at Chance as he went back under a wagon.
That was part generosity and part not wanting to run a combat encounter for every guard until you got to the tower. I was like, if you roll high enough,
sure, whatever,
just kill him.
Yeah, and then that became your bane towards the end, because rogues are broken later on when it comes to skills. It was you're like, okay, sleight of hand, I'm 37. You're like, fuck, okay, whatever.
I can't be stopped unless I roll a 1 or something magically prevents me from doing what I want.
Yeah, because it's even if I roll a 1, I have a thing that says if I'm proficient, that's a 10. And then I have a plus 17.
I have a base 10 plus 17. I'm doing minimum 27.
Yeah.
I was like, you know what? Fuck 5th edition.
We're moving on.
So powerful.
Greener pastures.
Yeah. So yeah, other than 5th edition, D&D, what other rule sets have you really enjoyed?
I mean, everyone's gonna be mad at me because I'll just say Monster of the Week, but I'm about to start thinking about running a game in Masks. Have you heard of that game?
I've never heard of Masks.
So it is a Powered by the Apocalypse game. but it's about superheroes. Like
So
people,
that's a 2d6
yes,
system
2d6.
based.
That's it. Yeah, and it's about people who have superpowers, and it's sort of like comic booky, but it's done in that 2d6 system where you build powers with your GM, and all of them have
Fun.
like instead of a playbook in Monster of the Week, you have these powers, and then you use those to make your rolls.
Can I tell you about the funniest meme I've seen on the internet today?
Yeah.
So the Fantastic Four, speaking of superheroes, I was watching a scene between Johnny Storm and the Thing, or the Human Torch and the Thing.
Yeah.
And they're like, all right, it's got to spring into action. And Johnny Storm's like, flame on. And he was like making fun of the Thing. Oh, see what you don't have a... He goes, I've been working on one. He's like, I'm getting bricked up. And it was like, it would be hilarious because he's made of bricks.
Yeah.
But getting bricked up means different things.
Constipation, yeah.
And I was just like, oh, man. Catchphrases are hard.
What would you say, you, Rio, what's your tabletop catchphrase?
My tabletop ketchup?
Yeah, catchphrase.
Catchphrase?
Not ketchup. Different thing.
Like on this podcast, what do I say the most?
Like if you think back over all, I think we're almost at 200 episodes.
Yeah.
If you think about all 200 episodes and you're like, I am going to make a catchphrase of myself on this podcast, what do you think it would be?
Oh, man. Something inappropriate.
Yes, I just said that.
I don't know how many times I've been like, that's what he said. I think I've said that a lot. I think I've mostly said, hey, it's your boy Rio.
Yeah.
I don't really think I repeat myself too often as far as catchphrases go. My catchphrase is more Franco's disappointing stare.
Yeah.
That's
Which
my
honestly,
catchphrase.
no one is able to appreciate, but it's there.
It's there. You can hear it.
Yeah.
It's loud.
It's loud. Yeah, I was about to say.
What about you? Because you did this podcast for a year before the rest of us like logged on for like full-time commitments.
You know what? I was listening to some of the older episodes, and me trying to figure out how to host just by fucking doing it. It's pretty bad. I can't listen to the old ones.
Bad to start.
Yeah. I think it will. Let's see. What's my catchphrase? Probably it's welcome back to Tabletopped. It's another.
I don't know if a catchphrase is just like a thing you say to say hello.
Yeah, I say.
What's your catchphrase? Hi, how are you?
My catchphrase? Hey, how you doing?
How's the weather out there?
What do you think? What do you think we're gonna do in the next year on Tabletop? Anything that excites you?
I've never been excited a day in my life.
Or is it like,
why are you asking questions? I'm on the interview.
Oh, I'm so
what
sorry.
do you think in the next year we're going to do that's going to really... What are you the most excited about looking forward to the next year, tabletop-wise? I see you try to take the hosting reins back. You can't trick me.
Yeah, I know. I guess it's a compulsion.
It's a compulsion. Disease.
I think that I'm really excited. I really enjoy when we make stuff together. The active creation. I've enjoyed when we were working on Last Hope, which is something forthcoming. I was enjoying when we did Last Hunting of the Boar. I enjoyed whenever we do an episode that's like a module build.
Oh, you know my favorite episode we've ever done is?
What?
The Three Dragon.
That was so good. I have to listen to that again. That was with Rainbow Dice Club, right?
That was Rainbow Dice Club.
Yeah,
that was a great episode.
Yeah, and I think Lex is no longer with Rainbow Dice Club, but Dusty is, and both of them came on. And can you remind me what the Three Dragon problem was? Because it was so funny, but I think it's like...
The thing is, like, we were doing a module. It was like, oh, what are these two like warring people had dragons, and the solution was someone went out and got a third dragon.
That was it.
And it was like,
oh shit, 2 dragons.
You got one
dragon.
Oh yeah, these 2 dragons are having a war over the city.
Yeah.
And the city was like, oh no, we don't have enough power to fight either one of these dragons. So they went out and they summoned a third dragon to come fight the other 2 dragons. And they're like, well, now we have 3 dragons.
And I think it was like, wasn't the 3 dragon problem that they summoned this other dragon and it destroyed the city or something like that? It was like, oh no, what have we done?
It made everything worse.
Yeah.
And it became, I love a post-apocalypse, and what's more post-apocalyptic than a three-way dragon battle?
Yeah. I think one of my favorite episodes is I really like when we made the Granny Snake Eyes module.
Granny Snake. That was forever ago.
Yeah, it was forever ago, and it's
But
like
we
you
love
can
it,
still
Granny
download it
Snake
on our
Eyes.
website. But it's like, what a stupid, funny little thing where it's like people are carrying panes of glass across the street, and you have to like duck under it or go through these panes of glass and stuff.
Classic. We love a 1930s movie reference.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
Charlie Chaplin. Oh man, you know that would be a good sort of module is to go back to like sort of the vaudeville
Buster Keaton style.
Buster Keaton, like how would the Buster Keaton presents Dungeons and Dragons. What is that? What does that movie look like?
I feel like that would be so fun because it's in a way a lot of old silent like films like that are kind of Dungeons and Dragons because it's like, oh, a house fell on me, but I was in the middle of the window frame and so I didn't get hurt. And it's like, that's a nat 20 on something.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Nat 20 is all over. Plus that ones are there so often, such as, that second guy that runs through the pane of glass.
Yeah.
Oh, man, Buster Keaton.
We should write this down. Like, we should do this.
Well, good thing we're recording.
Yeah, we'll remind ourselves.
We'll remind ourselves when this airs.
Yeah. Are you, like...
Which era of classic Hollywood would you most want to run a D&D game in?
Oh, that's a great question. Classic Hollywood. I think maybe like the Singing in the Rain era.
Oh, you do a musical?
Like a big studio film where it's like musical. There's just like, the synchronized dancing and swimming and all that kind of stuff. I feel like that is perfect.
I mean, you remember when we did Thirsty Sword Lesbians?
Yes.
I think there's a version of those rules that would apply for like, oh, you're in a story. Well, this is where you're now in a musical number. The musical numbers are the encounters.
Yeah.
It's like how well do you express yourself? How do you move through this scene?
I mean, it kind of works perfectly because there's the theory of musical theater and opera that is, if someone is singing, it is because the intention of the stakes of the scene have gotten so high that talking is no longer enough.
Right.
And so you move into singing. And I feel like that's kind of perfect because you're talking, you're doing RP, you've moved into singing. Let's get some dice out here.
It's like, oh, you guys hear music start to well up. Everyone roll for a musical number.
Musical initiative.
That's our 2025 project.
Yeah. There's actually
Dungeons and musicals.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know what? Actually,
are powered by the musicals.
Yes, powered by
music.
Powered by music. That's so good.
Oh,
Rio.
that's a great one. PBM.
Actually, I'm gonna say something that you know what I want to do this next year.
What do you want to do?
I think I want to try to do more sort of like short one shots that we record.
Well, that's all I'm doing.
Yeah.
So we'll get a mic in there
because
I am just getting back to like the RPGs field. I was like, I'm so tired of long campaigns that require so much work and fostering and emotional labor. It's like, let me just have this adventure, beginning, middle, end. We'll play it till it's done, and when we're done, we move on.
And biz, like, remember when we did on Snyder's Return when we all played the Soulbound game?
Oh yeah.
And that was so much fun. Like, I think my character died that session. But I was like a monster zombie man who thought he was a noble knight.
Yeah.
You were my princess, but you were also some sort of like succubus queen or whatever.
I want to say like a lich queen.
Yeah, something like that.
But I was definitely like a very evil woman.
And you were, very much like, like your clothes were like shredded pieces of other people and stuff like that.
Man.
And I was like, my beautiful queen.
We should do a Snyder's sequel.
Yeah, I would really like to.
A Snyder's Return.
Yeah.
Or Return to Snyder's Return.
Man, are you writing these down? These
no,
are
I'm
fucking
recording
incredible.
them.
Okay, so we're actually getting, because you can't see the timeline, we're getting to 40 minutes.
Oh man!
Anything else you want?
Can you see the timeline?
Yeah, I can see that. I can see multiple timelines.
You're like Doctor Strange over there.
Yeah, exactly.
I've seen 417,000 timelines.
What did you think of Multiverse of Madness? Thumbs up, thumbs down.
Thumb sideways.
Thumb sideways.
I felt like it wasn't terrible, but I felt like it wasn't necessary.
Is the first one good? I've only seen the second one.
Doctor Strange, the first Doctor Strange is good.
Okay.
The second Doctor Strange is just a tent pole for everything else they're trying to do. And I kind of hate that Marvel has their movies as like, we're going to give you 1/3 the story, 1/3 just action sequences, and 1/3 setup for other movies that we.
I
want
agree,
that come
man.
in.
I feel like ever since Endgame, they're like, okay, we want to do Endgame again, but they haven't done the 10 years prior of individual stories.
That's right, man. If they had just taken 3 years off after Endgame. But we're already getting stuff, and now we're getting like the new Captain America in February, and it's like I love, Sam Wilson as Captain America, but it's like this Captain America stuff is like so conspiracy driven and dark. I'm just like, I don't have the emotional. Like, go back to when it was fun. But you can't because you raised the stakes too high, and now you can't go back to this low stakes fun adventures.
Let this be a lesson to GMs everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah. I also think that you're so right that what they should have done is they've done 10 years of movies. Let the next 10 years be video games, comics, other media. And you can basically still be in the story stuff.
But then that's losing money if you're not making the $1 billion films. I was like, just don't make the money then. You're fine.
Yeah, you're fine.
No one is hurting.
You're Disney.
You're Disney. You're Marvel. You're Fox. You're everybody.
Yeah.
Get over it.
I mean, final chance to ask me any hard-hitting questions for the year. Anything you got?
Of all your co-hosts, who do you enjoy the least one-on-one?
Oh, who do I enjoy the least one-on-one? I think the person I enjoy the least is myself. Because I love you all so much.
Wow, what a great martyr throwing yourself on the sword answer to a question that was meant to be a gotcha. I don't know. Franco did the whole gotcha stuff last year. I thought I should throw one gotcha at you.
Yeah,
but I didn't get you.
Thank God. I couldn't take it if
I didn't get you with my gotcha
again.
If you had gotten shame on you.
You know what's actually really funny? So Shade the first year did very much like the technical aspects of running a podcast. Like, how is this going? Essentially, what do you want to do? Franco did Gotcha Essential. We just had a beautiful, wonderful conversation together. We just had like a nice conversation.
I'm low key. I'm a bros bro.
Yeah.
Yeah,
bros
I'm one of the lads.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, I mean, Rio, do you want to take us into our third year right now and say the first words of our new year?
This is the year of Rio. It's all about me. Nick's still hosting, so I don't like responsibility. But this is really my year to shine. Thank you, everyone, for listening to Nick talk about his life, his aspirations, his weaknesses and strengths. But really, we got that out of the way. It's time to focus on me.
Yeah.
Rio.
Thank God.
Thank God. And these other two can kick rocks.
And thank all of you for listening for 3 years or however long you've listened. I hope you enjoy the new year. Goodbye, everyone.